Hotel staff must see a load of bizarre stuff every day, with most of them grown a pretty thick skin after being in the industry for any length of time. These 10 biggest confessions of hotel maids are shocking and entertaining, with some being more usual than others. What goes on behind the scenes can also be a surprise, with some staff taking matters into their own hands when they feel slighted, and others being overlooked for prime shifts or room assignments. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content like this. With that being said, let's begin. Number 10. Romantic encounters with guests. It's rare and a fireable offense, but yes, there are times when hotel housekeeping staff and hotel guests do what people do in hotels. Some maids who have seen or participated in such encounters have dished anonymously to reporters writing tell-all features, and others spill their secrets on Whisper, a mobile app used for sharing anonymous secrets. Most of the time, these confessions come after a long explanation that usually made the two overwork to find time for dalliance. Plus, of all the hotel staff, the maids are worked the hardest by management. Some of these maids on guest couplings have been outed by other staff members seeing their coworkers coming out of guest rooms looking disheveled. Like this Travelodge commenter, waited at front desk for almost 30 minutes before giving up. 10 p.m. As I was walking back to my room, I had seen younger lady, short, long dirty blonde hair walking out of a ground floor room finishing putting her shoes on. Also have seen her sliding notes under the same door, walking in and out during night hours. If you go searching online for evidence of hotel maids crossing the line of professionalism and indulging in some fun on the clock, you can find a lot of material. When maids tell all, some will admit that they've decided on a whim to take a guest up on an offer for some extra intimate turn-down service. One maid told comedian Nikki Glazer that a guest hoped she'd indulge his desire for something a little freaky, and he made it worth her while. Another maid confession included a tip. If guests chat you up, tell them it's your birthday in hopes of getting a bigger tip. Some guests, mostly traveling businessmen, spill their guts online about how they keep from getting lonely on the road. They tell stories about things that have happened, things that almost happen, and share tips for making things happen. According to these guys, romantic encounters between guests and waitresses or bartenders are the most common. The real culprits responsible for most guest staff commingling are in the corporate lounges, not pushing the towel carts. The bartenders have the most face time with the guests, alcohol is involved, and bar staff are typically given a little more respect. But sometimes guests and maids come face to face, and sometimes when adults come face to face, they decide to do more than say good morning, speak the local language, and pass them a nice note and tip well are the top tips for making this fantasy a reality. This sultry topic is something we apparently love to fantasize about. Lots of fictional stories tell us travelers, rock stars, and people down on their luck finding comfort in the arms of a friendly housekeeper. A somber tale is told in Laura Kasich's novel, Suspicious River, about a young girl who spends summers working for a family instead of being a kid and decided to start making extra cash doing side dealings with the guests at her family's small motel. If you prefer something more fun, the drama on ABC, Grand Hotel, has lots of scandalous plot lights. Number 9. Unsanctioned Breaks. One hotel staffer was interviewed by Trivago and revealed some startling revelations. It seems that staff at hotels are generally expected to go nonstop, with very few breaks or opportunities to use the bathrooms. This means that they try to get whatever downtime they can when an opportunity arises, often leading to hotel staff sleeping in the beds of guests, even while they're staying in the room. These naps happen on a regular basis, and staff have also claimed to use the guest's toilet and even their toiletries that are left lying around. When they're bored, some of them like to browse through belongings, whether or not they're left out in the open. Searching through bags for interesting items is also a thing, although it does happen much less frequently, especially when it comes to more well-known chains. Even five-star hotels have these issues with staff skirting the rules when it suits them. To be fair, using the toilets isn't too much of an issue for us since they've probably also been used by thousands of people before them, and we expect that the staff probably does clean them afterwards, ensuring that they're smart about when they choose to use the bathroom if they're in the room of a current guest. The sleeping in beds is a little more unnerving, however, as we're sure that those sheets probably aren't washed afterwards and are just tucked back in like nothing had happened. The idea of putting our head down for the night in a hotel bed is already unappealing enough, given the fact that the sheets are generally washed on a regular basis, but the comforter on top usually isn't, meaning it's got a big chance of being filthy without you even aware of the fact. Add some random person's sweat and face grease, and you've got a combination that we're happier avoiding altogether. The issue here is you can never really know if a hotel staffer spent a few hours snoozing in your bed while you're out and about for the day, leaving us to assume one way or the other. This is basically a case of what we don't know not being able to hurt us, but the assumption that it could happen is a little gross to some. Many hotel staff don't see any issues with this kind of stuff, and we have to agree that it's not a huge deal for the most part, but we could definitely draw the line at using a guest's toiletries because that's really not cool at all. When all's said and done, you just never know what's going to be going on in your hotel room when you're not there, but it should be noted that hotel staff put up with much more disgusting things on a daily basis, so they should be given at least a little bit of leeway. Number 8. Chocolate indulgence gone wild. This confession comes from a hotel staffer who received a request from a pair of newlyweds that didn't initially seem all that strange. It was for a chocolate fountain to be brought to their room, which is a fairly romantic thing to share, especially while on honeymoon. The request was not out of the ordinary for the luxury establishment known for accommodating unique guest desires. The fountain was dropped off and everything went well. The guests checked out the next day and were fairly quiet, but staff just assumed that they'd done a little partying the night before. A little partying would have been an understatement, however, as the person tasked with cleaning up after them found soon afterward. They entered the room to discover that the entire place was covered head to toe in a layer of chocolate. The chocolate chaos was not just limited to the bedding. It extended to the curtains and even the ceiling fan, making it a sight of bewildering spectacle. They said that the couple had obviously coated themselves before getting freaky with the outline of the woman's, but still visible on the bed table and roof, with the last location being quite impressive to say the least. The creative use of chocolate went beyond what the staff could have imagined, turning the room into a scene straight out of a comedy film. They also said you could follow their entire shenanigans step by step by following the chocolate marks. Cleaning the sticky mess proved to be a daunting task, requiring several hours of deep cleaning to restore the room to its pristine condition. This would have been hilarious, but definitely not much fun to clean up afterward. Reflecting on the incident, the staff couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity and creativity of the newlyweds' chocolate adventure. We met this kind of thing happens all the time, and that it's probably pretty tame compared to some others, but the idea of a couple dousing themselves in chocolate and then checking out in shame led to this particular story catching our attention perfectly. The memory of the chocolate-covered honeymoon suite remains a favorite anecdote among the hotel staff, reminding them of the unpredictability and joy that comes with working in hospitality. Number 7. Of course they can hear you. Do you wonder about your privacy when you're staying in a hotel room? Can they hear what you're watching 13 going on 30 and laughing hysterically? Yes. Can they hear you at your most vulnerable, intimate moments? As one housekeeper shared anonymously to the Whisper app, "I work at a hotel. Yes, I can hear everything." Another hotel staff member, a night auditor using Quora, a topic discussion site, answered this question, "Yes, regularly loudly." The Lifetime drama, Devious Maids, took this concept and ran with it. Often overlooked, housekeepers hear everything. And on this particular show, the secrets they discover give them power over their scandal-loving employers. Hotel employees know that privacy, besides the location far from home, is the main thing people seek when they book a room in a hotel. To lift the veil of privacy is bad for business. This applies to guests conducting their business in their rooms. However, hotel staff are trained to maintain a professional demeanor, ensuring that any overheard details are kept confidential to protect guest privacy. Despite this, guests should be mindful of the thin walls that may not fully insulate their private moments from attentive ears. The hospitality industry works hard to balance service and discretion, striving to make each stay as comfortable and private as possible. The rules change if you try to take your hanky-panky outside your room. The staff frequently see guests making out or more in elevators thanks to security cameras. Same for stairwells. There's a reason that the pools close after 10 p.m., and that reason isn't just that drunk people could slip and fall at night. The hotel is too short-staffed to frequently patrol the hot tub for couples who may sully the waters. As for guests who walk down the hallways naked, they're also running the risk of getting thrown out, hopefully with their clothes. Sometimes they respect your privacy and pass by when they see the "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. But if it's after checkout time, watch out, because once your time in your room is up, the maid doesn't have time for your ego. Despite these incidents, the primary goal of hotel staff is to ensure a safe, comfortable, and enjoyable experience for all guests. They are well aware of the importance of guest privacy and go to great lengths to uphold it, intervening only when necessary to maintain safety and hotel standards. Ultimately, the respect for privacy is a two-way street, with both guests and hotel staff playing a role in fostering an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Number 6. Sometimes they touch your stuff. Most maids are too busy to snoop and value their jobs too much to do anything improper and risk losing their position. Sometimes exceptions are made and the cleaning staff will touch your stuff or even use your bathroom. Management puts lots of pressure on maids to clean many rooms in a short period of time, even when they're really messy. Trekking down to the ground floor and back to use a staff bathroom in the middle of room cleaning isn't practical. So, even though they aren't supposed to use the rooms like guests, maids often use the bathrooms in the guest rooms. How would anyone know? Without spending an excessive amount of time monitoring them. Plus, maids clean up after themselves and clean up after you before they use the toilet themselves. That's one way to assure the maid wants the bathroom to be clean, right? What about the rule that they're not supposed to touch your stuff, just freshen up the room and leave? It seems straightforward, but how about when they have to change the linens and replace the towels, and your stuff is on the linens and towels. Maids in this predicament have to make the judgment call to move your things and clean your room and hope that you don't complain. Other times, maids just get curious. Is there really any harm in smelling a bottle of perfume if you're picking it up to wipe the vanity underneath it? How about taking a moment to glance at the back cover of the book on your nightstand as you dust? It's only human, right? How about stopping to play with your child's toys? Or, like when Jennifer Lopez tried on that guest's dress in Made in Manhattan, that cable movie went too far. Hotel managers have to answer to these kinds of worries all the time. They have some good points. Maids know that they are the first accused of stealing and are less likely to incriminate themselves. Many different hotel employees have access to rooms, too. If you're so concerned about your privacy, pick up your things before you leave your room vacant during the day for cleaning. Plus, hotels provide in-room safes for your valuables. This delicate balance between service and privacy is a constant challenge within the hospitality industry. Training and clear guidelines help ensure that maids respect guest privacy while performing their duties efficiently. Ultimately, mutual respect and understanding between guests and hotel staff contribute to a positive and respectful lodging experience. Number 5. Maids prefer cleaning fancier rooms. Everyone who works has preferences about their day-to-day duties. Whether you're working your dream job or just doing something to get by, hotel staff have their preference of which floors to be assigned. Of course, the penthouse suites and even business class rooms offer better views from fancier floors, but there are a few practical reasons that maids prefer to be assigned to clean the more premium rooms. The most practical reason is for tips. Some guests don't tip, and even rich people can be very stingy when it comes to leaving a gratuity for the person who picks up your icky towels and is responsible for setting out clean glassware for you. But overall, guests in fancier rooms leave more tips. That is, if your manager lets you have them. Many maids, when pressed, will confess that the shift manager goes through all the rooms and takes the tips for herself before the other maids have a chance to get them. As easily replaceable workers, they don't have anyone to complain to who will stand up to an effective shift manager. Some guests hide tips in the linens to be found by the real workers. When things are left behind, it's more likely nicer things will be left in the more expensive rooms. Guests can leave valuable and amusing things behind in their rooms. Finders keepers. Another small observation is that if there are any shortages, the most expensive rooms suffer least. So if you're a hotel maid, working the best floors means you're less likely to have the broken vacuum or the understocked supply cart. Sometimes shift managers or head cleaning staff will assign rooms based on seniority. Sometimes they use their power to hold room cleaning assignments over maids' heads. Guests on the premium floors can be prone to spoiled outbursts, but overall, hotel staff generally agree. The guests most likely to come back are the least likely to misbehave. People with the means to travel often or come regularly for business are less likely to be rude or stiff them on the tip. This dynamic creates an unspoken hierarchy within the housekeeping staff, where working on premium floors is seen as a badge of honor. The experience of cleaning these rooms often leads to more personal satisfaction and job pride among maids. In turn, this positive atmosphere can lead to better overall service, creating a cycle of satisfaction for both staff and guests. This preference system, though unofficial, shapes the daily life and work satisfaction of hotel maids, offering them small victories in their routine. Now it's time for the star topic. While we are on the topic of bedtime shenanigans, that brings us to our star topic. Now, here's the thing. I have a story to share, but there are certain rules on YouTube that stipulate me from saying what needs to be said. So bear with me as I try my best. Recently, an anonymous hotel maid confessed to doing something that we cannot legally name or describe on YouTube. Let's just say that this said nameless maid agreed to be paid for things that were technically outside her remit as a maid. A wage wasn't enough to get by, so she offered certain guests, rich male ones, services that were not PG-13. Catch my drift? Comment down below. Number 4. The Unwashed Truth. This is a very common theme in hotel exposes. Who can forget the famous glowing light experiment? The famous 2020 special revealed to the uninformed that bedding may not be changed to your liking. Sheets and pillowcases can be changed daily if you request and are definitely supposed to be changed between guests, but sometimes maids take shortcuts and decide the sheets on the bed look good enough. If guests don't notice, is it that bad? Traditionally, bedspreads were not washed between guests. Urban legend had it that the sturdier fabrics were washed once a year. Once this got out, guests began immediately throwing the comforter or bedspread on the floor, out of the way, and using only the fresh bed linens. But this isn't enough warmth, so some hotels have given way to using bedspreads that are washable between every guest. The other most notorious surface in a hotel room is the TV remote control. Although it's not considered on the list of soiled surfaces in the room because it's not a linen, maids and guests alike will tell you the remote is exposed to a lot of first-hand contamination. Maids confess that guests leave organic matter on surfaces that are not washable. The remote, the lamps, the phone, and, for some reason, Many male guests leave visible body fluids on the door handles. Even the pillows, which are covered in pillowcases, get exposed to things that seep through the pillowcase. Drool, and God knows what else, can and does seep through the pillowcase onto the actual pillow, and the pillows are seldom, if ever, washed. Watch out for upholstered furniture in hotel rooms. Armchairs, footstools, and the like are not washable and aren't included on the short list of essential spots to clean in a hotel room. This lack of attention to detail in cleaning practices raises questions about the overall hygiene standards in some hotels. To address these concerns, more establishments are now adopting stringent cleaning protocols, ensuring every nook and cranny is disinfected. This shift towards better hygiene practices is partly in response to growing awareness and demand from guests for cleaner, safer accommodations. Highlighting these issues has also led to the introduction of cleanliness ratings for hotels, much like food hygiene ratings for restaurants. These new measures aim to give guests peace of mind and guarantee a higher standard of cleanliness. With these changes, the hospitality industry hopes to restore faith in hotel cleanliness and encourage more people to travel with confidence. Number 3. Why I Love Salad. The owner of a B&B ended up posting online about a strange journal they found while cleaning one of the rooms out. Their guests had left after a rather uneventful but still pleasant stay. The room was needed soon afterward, which meant that everything needed to be tidied, with anything dirty needing to be replaced as per usual. The owner ended up doing this themselves, as they only ran a small operation and shared responsibilities as needed. They noticed a book that had been left behind and stopped to take a look. They assumed that it was probably important to their recently departed guests and opened it up to see what it contained, in order to decide whether or not it could be tossed or should be kept. The journal itself looked quite old and worn, with the words "Why I Love Salad" written in large letters across the front of it. When the owner noticed this, they realized that this was no ordinary journal and that they were looking at something that was odd indeed. The pages were all filled with writing and recipes from many different types of salads. They also included full pages detailing exactly why they enjoyed salads so much, listing dozens of different reasons and backing them all up. Every once in a while, things took an even stranger turn, as the owner recounted that many pages even alluded to how salad must be alive in some way, trying to justify that it was actually a living thing. If this was the case, then we don't know why this person was so into salad murder, as it certainly seems that they had eaten their fair share. This just goes to show that there are a ton of crazy people in the world, although this registers on the tamer end of the spectrum. We're sure that the mysterious salad fan is harmless, and we'd actually be interested in seeing just what made them become such die-hard fans of the appetizers to begin with. The peculiar obsession with salad's vitality sparked curiosity and amusement among online readers who came across the B&B owner's post. Some suggested that the journal could be the work of an eccentric artist or a writer engaging in a creative experiment. Others offered to contribute their own salad recipes to continue the legacy of the mysterious journal. The story of the Why I Love Salad journal quickly gained popularity, becoming a topic of discussion in various online forums dedicated to unusual finds and quirky stories. The B&B owner was encouraged to preserve the journal as a unique piece of guest history, perhaps even displaying it in a common area for future visitors to enjoy. While the journal's original owner remained a mystery, their passionate and peculiar tribute to salads left an unforgettable mark on the B&B and its online followers. Number 2. Staff strife and service. It should also be mentioned that hotel staff are just people too at the end of the day, which makes them susceptible to getting angry and screwing you over. The ways they can do this are wide and varied, with one story relating how a couple of guests ended up pissing off one room attendant in an unnamed hotel chain. The attendant decided that they were going to make sure that the guests paid for leaving their room a complete mess and generally being disrespectful. This behavior from guests creates a challenging environment for those who strive to provide the best service possible. We don't know the extent to which they pushed this particular employee, but we're sure that getting even isn't all that unheard of in the world of hotels. There will always be guests that feel superior and black rude, but most hotel staff are actually used to this treatment and are good at turning the other cheek. To maintain a professional atmosphere, staff members often undergo training on how to manage their emotions and handle difficult situations with grace. If they're caught doing something untoward, they could lose their job after all or end up being stuck with the worst shifts available as punishment. Consequently, staff members are typically very cautious about how they interact with guests to avoid negative outcomes. Both outcomes aren't preferred, and this leads to almost everyone playing by the rules for fear of any repercussions. There will always be a Tyler Durden in every group, however, and we plan on staying safe by treating everyone well. You can never be sure who the troublemakers are or what they'll do to mess with you. The staffer in this story ended up using a fresh towel to clean the entirety of a guest's built-in bathroom, making sure to soak up every little bit of dirt and grime. Such acts not only breach the trust between hotel staff and guests, but also tarnish the reputation of the establishment. They then folded the towel up so it still looks new, but hanging it up where the fresh towels should be. When the guests arrived back later that day, they ended up using this nasty towel without hesitation, not realizing that they were the victims of a pretty tasteless prank. Unfortunately, this kind of incident highlights the importance of mutual respect and understanding in the hospitality industry. Again, we don't know exactly what they did to tanker the attendant, and we hope that they actually deserved such treatment, but we think that a move like this is pretty low for a hotel employee. Losing your cool like that might make you feel better, but if that guest had actually caught on, then there definitely would have been hell to pay. It's crucial for all involved to remember the value of communication and addressing issues directly rather than resorting to retaliation. If we were the victim of an act like that, we know we'd go all out to make sure that the perpetrator was canned. The fact that staff are able to get away with smearing a supposedly fresh, clean towel all over a dirty bathroom is pretty disgusting, and we want no part of it. Ultimately, maintaining professionalism and a high level of service is key to ensuring that both guests and staff have a positive experience in any hotel setting. Number 1. Bickering behind the scenes. We mentioned earlier how a staff member at a hotel can be punished with poor shifts, but that kind of thing happens every single week no matter what, which helps add a lot of stress to the job. Certain rooms are favored over others, with larger suites usually resulting in better rates. They also fight nonstop about shifts, always trying to one-up each other. It goes without saying that there's a lot of competition, which ultimately can end up leading to a bad experience for a guest. If an employee thinks that they got screwed, then their morale can drop, making them less efficient or willing to do a good job. Even the trolleys that hotel staff use are graded, with an unofficial hierarchy that means certain staff members get what they want while others get left behind. This constant fighting and bickering behind the scenes shouldn't spill out into the front of the house, but a nasty work environment always wears on those who have to put up with it. Look, we get that every job will have aspects that people like more than others, and that someone will almost inevitably end up getting the short end of the stick in more industries than just hospitality. But we have to remember that stressed out and undervalued staff are probably more willing to mess around with their customers. This means that those guests who stay in more expensive rooms will usually get better service, to the detriment of the rest of us who can't quite afford to spend top dollar while traveling. We don't like the idea that a cheaper room leads to less impressive service, but we do get that all employees are not treated equally. Those at the bottom will always have to fight with each other, and that arguing will always lead to a more hostile work environment. We didn't realize just how vicious the hotel game could get, and some of the stories of workplace arguments over petty issues just blew us away. There are also many chains that have had employees speak out and claim that superiors play favorites, with lower-tier staff generally getting pushed around more, even if they do better work. So much for equality in the workplace, right? Still, this happens everywhere. So it's not just hotels where you have to be wary of disgruntled or stressed out employees dropping the ball or taking their frustrations out on you. Hope you enjoyed the video, folks. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button before you head out. If you're new, that's all you have to do. Come on, click. I know you want to. Oh, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Luck gives you superpowers in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.